Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Starring Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Chloe Bennett, Elizabeth Henstridge, Henry Simmons, Natalia Cordova-Buckley, Jeff Ward.
So what an episode. S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing their final season in a way that I'm so happy with so far, and this episode was full of references to the show's past as well as having some pretty great tie-ins to the movies as well. But first off, can I just say how amazing that opening was, with S.H.I.E.L.D. getting a brand new 70s opening theme song. It was accurate down to the grain on the screen, and the music to go along with it was just everything you could want from an opening like that. Ben McCreary, he's the composer of the show, is possibly the most underrated aspect of this entire show, although I can't be alone in being the only person who was sad when they didn't show Ian along there with the rest of the cast in the opening. But other than that, this was absolutely the most Hydra-centric episode we've had yet this season, and with the reveal at the end that Daniel Whitehall is going to be in play, it looks like they're only going to get bigger and bigger as a part of the season. In terms of Whitehall, I'm not going to confirm or deny that we actually will see the actor or even the character, because I haven't been paying too much attention to promos or casting information or any of that, but the actor came back for roles in both Seasons 3 and Season 5, so I'd say it's likely we'll at least see him in a cameo. But I think he'll probably play a bigger part. He didn't play too big a part in his Season 3 or Season 5 appearances, but he was there and his impact was felt at least. But the interesting thing about his appearance in Season 3 Episode 16, which is called Paradise Lost, is that it had Daniel directly involved with both Nathaniel and Gideon Malik, which was also in 1970 on the day of Wilfred Malik's death. But I think this episode is actually going to end up being pretty important in hindsight, because in that episode we learned about the Malik's history, and how Nathaniel was the Hydra devotee of the family who wanted the Maliks to follow Whitehall, while Gideon was actually the one who wanted to do something different and new, which ultimately resulted in Nathaniel's death. But that's actually completely in line with the information and what we see in this episode. Basically with Gideon being very laid back and trying to do whatever, while Nathaniel pursues powers in a way that Whitehall would have. And then ending up with the reveal that he's actually been in contact with Whitehall, likely for the better part of the last 6 years. And this is one of my favourite aspects of the episode, mainly because it made a relatively small episode from 4 years ago 10 times more important. Like, before now we would have assumed that episode, it was important for the Season 3 plotline, but other than that it wouldn't have been important at all anymore, but turned out being very important for this season. But speaking of the Maliks, I can't say I blame Deke for trying to take him out, or resulting in taking him out, especially after learning that time is truly off the rails now. It's probably going to stay that way. But it was an unexpected moment, and I was pretty happy with it, to be honest, because at this point killing Wilfred can't be worse than what's already happening. I didn't hate the reveal that Mac's parents were being held prisoner as leverage, but that was one of the weaker aspects of the episode in my opinion. Like, as crazy as it was, I would have preferred either A, some characters we've seen before, or B, someone who just in general had a connection to multiple characters rather than just Mac. Now, I completely understand why they did abandon the plan to save them, but I'm just saying that with all the knowledge they currently have, maybe they should have tried to come up with a better option or something. We also saw Rick Stoner in what is officially our first actual appearance of him. If you don't remember the character, he was in Season 5 as part of the safety protocols on the lighthouse. He showed up on screen to give a virtual tour of the lighthouse in Season 5 Episode 11, and he also showed up again on screen in Season 5 Episode 19, when the lighthouse was attacked by the Remorse Marauders. This is also the episode which saw Talbot officially become Graviton. But in both of those episodes, he was only recording in order to give information about the lighthouse to S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, so it was kind of awesome to see him properly show up now. It does raise a pretty interesting theory though. Like, was Rick one of the many Hydra agents undercover inside S.H.I.E.L.D., or is he just a Hydra agent in this timeline, or is he just oblivious and genuinely thinks that Project Insight is a good thing? But I also loved the hints we got about how great of an agent he was, like showing that he immediately played along with Coulson when Coulson mentioned the Hydra aliens and the sentient Chronicoms and all that. Like, he didn't do the usual thing that a character would do where he goes, "Oh, that's crazy, you're insane, no way that can be true." No, he immediately jumped right in, and he was like, he tried to pretend he was on Coulson's side and he completely believed him, even though he was playing an angle. It was a little tiny moment, but it gave the character a lot of development. By the way, the reappearance of Project Insight was one of the coolest tie-ins the show has done. If you don't remember what that was, it was the big Hydra project from Captain America the Winter Soldier that had the helicarriers in the sky race take out people like Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and they even were going to take out Stephen Strange, and this was 2 years before Stephen even had an MCU appearance. But I was really happy with how they handled it in this. It was kind of a perfect way for the Chronicoms to try and take out S.H.I.E.L.D., and we saw a bunch of names on their list. I may have missed some of the big ones, so let me know if I did, but the ones everyone will have caught are Bruce Banner, Nick Fury, Peggy Carter, Interestingly enough, there was no Howard or Maria Stark, which are Tony Stark's parents, and there was also no contingency for Steve Rogers, because Steve would still be asleep out there in the Arctic. But two other awesome ones on there were Victoria Han and Robert Gonzalez. Victoria was one of the highest S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in Season 1, and she was then killed by Grant in Season 1, Episode 17. And Gonzalez was somewhat of an antagonist Season 2. He ran the real S.H.I.E.L.D. and he was killed by Jiayang with Tarjan crystals in Season 2, Episode 20. But again, none of the other names jumped out at me, so let me know if I missed any of them. But those were two awesome characters to see featured. It's also two that we know weren't Hydra, and they were also some of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s best. But some of the best scenes in the episode definitely involved Daniel Souza. One of them was when he confronted Gemma about how they're messing with things they shouldn't be, and Deke interrupting him and standing up. Might be one of the best Deke scenes we've ever had. Like when you just tell Souza that they've all had their lives interrupted and they've all kind of been thrust into this. I wasn't too big of a fan of Deke in Season 6. When he's first introduced to us in Season 5, he's somewhat of a badass, a survival character who will do whatever it takes to get things done. But as he came back to present time, he kind of lost a bit of that edge, and he became more of a comic relief character. Like, we'd still get signs of his intelligence here or there, but most of the time he was played off as a joke. Now, this makes sense in a way. Like, he spent his entire life in an apocalyptic hellscape, and now he was in a place with people he could really trust, and he was relatively safe, for maybe the first time in his life. But I just didn't love how they handled him for the most part of late Season 5 and early Season 6. I think they really did a great job with the character, though, towards the end of Season 6 and what we've seen so far this season, because he absolutely still has a lot of those comedic moments, but he also has a bunch of serious and heavy moments to weigh them out as well, just like this scene. And when he does show how smart he is, it isn't played off as a joke anymore. It shows his depth and range as a character. Like, he went from a great addition to an iffy character to one of the greats again. But the other scene with Susan involved him and Daisy looking at the phone, which is a great moment where the character lightened up for a second. The actor said he was only listed for the last 2 episodes and this episode, so when Susan said he might get off in the 70s, I immediately kind of thought that this was his last episode on the show. But obviously with that ending, we'll definitely see him next week at least. I don't think the line about him getting off the Zephyr was just a throwaway though, because I think that was them slipping in a hint that Susan won't be sticking around past the 70s, which is a bit sucky. I just hope that at the very least he doesn't die by Malik or Whitehall's hands. Like, maybe if we get lucky, he'll get an Enoch style move where he'll just take the long way to whatever time period we go to next, and I could be happy with that. We also got a little hint that Yo-Yo is getting her abilities back, even slightly, so I'm happy that storyline is moving forward in a positive direction. Not too much on the May front though, but she definitely is becoming a bit more towards her usual self. We still got some of the emotion stuff in this episode, but it wasn't as heavy as the last two. At least she isn't completely emotionless anymore like she was in the first 2 episodes. We also got some serious teases towards what's going on with Gemma, like what the hell is that red device in the back of her neck? I do have some theories about that, but I'm thinking about doing a video on them, so check that out if I do. But my biggest theory isn't that she's an LMD, it's that the chip in her head or in the back of her neck is meant to keep her from aging, or at least keep her stable, sane and alive after decades and decades. Because we still think she's been away from the team for a long time, and we still have no information on Fitz. But the fact that Gemma didn't recognize the name Bobo from Deke might suggest that it's been so long that she just doesn't remember him as vividly as she used to. I hope this isn't the case though, because I just want these characters to end up happy, alive and together, because if anyone deserves it on this show, it's them too. But as a whole, this episode was just as good as last week's episode. It's proving week after week that S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing a great and solid job with its final outing. I was worried that the season wouldn't have much references or cameos from the show's history, but this episode had tons of them, the most yet we've seen this season. Plus, it was great seeing the lighthouse again. Maybe we'll get appearances from the bus or the playground from seasons 1, 2 and 3, which would be great. I guess the playgrounds is 4 as well. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe and all of that. I hope you have an awesome day.